Hello and welcome to the Video Gamer UK podcast. My name is Matt Lees and I'm joined by Mr. Chris Bratt.
Good morning.
Mr. Simon Miller.
Salutations.
And Mr. David Scummel.
I'm a bit cold and tired today.
Oh, great. Good start.
I like the way you said that at the point at which there should have been a crowd applause.
Yeah.
I'm a bit cold and tired.
That's true.
Let's all just calm down now.
Well, I feel great.
I feel good. I'm pumped. I'm ready to talk about video games.
Video games. And we've actually got some video games to talk
We've got
about.
loads to talk
So
about
why don't
today.
you kick it off, Miller, if you're
All right.
ready and pumped?
I'm ready and pumped. So I've got 3 things I can talk about. One less so than others. So which one would you like first? Or would you want me to just take
The one
pick
that you
one out
can
the
less
air?
talk about.
Yeah,
so
The
we
one that I
get
can
more
less
out
talk
of you.
about.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so there's a little game coming out next month called Zelda. Oh my gosh, I forgot the name. A Link Between Worlds. A Link Between Worlds. That's
Promising
right.
start.
Link of the past.
No,
two
right.
worlds.
Look, now we can't say much about it because obviously Rumbongos, everyone loves the lovely Umbongo. But, you know,
They drink it in the
that
Bongo.
is from a review standpoint. And there's been plenty of preview opportunities for this game.
Yeah.
So we can talk about it in general terms. I think it's important to talk about it in general terms because there's a lot of interest out there about this game. It is at least a sequel to A Link to the Past, which is many people's favourite Zelda game ever. And when you think about the Zelda games that have come across or come along, I think that's a very big deal.
There's a lot of interest in it, but there is also a lot of skepticism.
There is, and that's one reason I want to talk about it. I am about, I'd say, 8 hours into it now. Now, it's a big game. It's much like A Link to the Past or Ocarina of Time. It's not like the DS ones, which were very sort of straightforward and linear, and you could probably get through them in, 6 to 8 hours, really, if you kind of put your
Really? That
gaming
short?
cap on. Yeah, I
They were
mean,
a bit longer than that, but
But
mainly for
they felt
for
really
annoying
short to me.
reasons.
Okay,
I think
maybe.
that the DS ones felt longer, but mainly because there was a lot of backtracking.
well, that's the thing, and this isn't like that. This is the Link to the Past world, and it's open, and it's you explore it, and there's no the only going back you could say there is per se is when you go into the Dark World. But even then, because it's so different in terms of its environment, it doesn't feel like you're going back. It feels like you're experiencing the same world with a twist.
I don't enjoy that mechanic.
Oh, it's excellent.
They've
Why don't
pulled
you-
that, so not Nintendo, but in games in general, they've pulled that so many times. I'm just tired of it now.
It was good in Zelda, though.
It's so good in Zelda, though. Have you
Is
played
it?
Link to the Past, right?
Oh, yeah, but
Yeah,
age.
Yeah, but it's like that. But the thing, the few points I want to bring up is the amount of nods it has to older Zelda games, and not just Link to the Past, like Ocarina of Time and even Link's Awakening to some degree, is just so well done and so sort of aimed at the Nintendo fan who will just sit there and lap it up, and it will make them fall in love with this game even more. That's a reason to buy it in itself. If you've ever had an affiliation with Zelda and you maybe haven't played it in the last few years, or you want a reason to go back in, that alone is enough of a reason to go back in, because it's just so aimed at making you feel like you're part of this special Zelda club. And obviously there's millions of people that are, but it feels like only you found it and stuff like that. And it's just, it's a wonderful experience. And, it follows the same setup as A Link to the Past. So although you're doing kind of the same things, there's enough newness to it and enough twists to it to make you...
Enough nudists to
There's nudists in it. Yeah. It's my
Nudists,
favourite part is when you
right.
meet the nudists.
Do you remember
His name's
Tingle?
Tim.
Do you remember Tingle?
Yeah, he's nude now.
Tim's his brother, but he's
Right.
stark bollock naked.
You know,
Grower, not a shower.
within the first sort of couple of hours, you are in the castle doing the same kind of thing you were doing A Link to the Past, but there's a twist to it. I'm not going to talk about the twist and what it is, but there's a twist to it. There's something new to it. You don't feel like you're repeating the same stuff. You just feel like you're experiencing something new in a world that you played 20 years ago. And that alone is just it's fantastic. I mean, it genuinely is
nostalgic
fantastic.
fun with a new age vibe.
Exactly, and the music, my gosh. If any game comes out with better music this year,
I've got to say-
I will wear a toupee? No, what do that mean? But yeah,
Yeah, okay, right.
I'll wear a toupee.
That's a fair
Yeah.
challenge. I'd laugh at that.
Yeah.
I have to say, actually, that this is not. I mean, people may be surprised to find this, but often when I'm not doing fun things on the internet, I do sit around just being a miserable bastard
We're all miserable
in my
bastards
little
deep
cloudy
down.
world in the corner of my room. But yesterday evening, after we finished the Demon Souls stream, I was
Yeah.
just sitting at a computer.
You were
and-
definitely in a cloudy corner after
I
the
was
Demon Souls
because I
stream.
died too many times and we made very little progress. Oh, it was terrible. Anyway, I might talk about it later. But anyway, I heard you playing this and the music. I was just sat there and I went, "Oh, the music in this game is amazing!"
Yeah.
And that was just off tinny speakers from the outside of the room.
Yeah.
But then it started playing a classic Zelda tune, and I can't remember which one it was. But it was just like it was so good that I exploded. I literally
Honestly,
exploded.
and I did the same.
It freaked me out, man. You actually did. There was a scream.
I just got up from my chair and I ran across the room screaming and running around like a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
I wasn't
Yeah.
ready for that.
I wasn't ready for it. I didn't expect it. It came
That's
out
the
of
thing,
nowhere.
and that is how the game makes you feel throughout. Like, it genuinely is. Be it the music, be it the other nods that it does. That is what is so special about this game.
That's it.
It taps into something you haven't felt in a long time. brings it out of you, but then says, but don't worry, it's not going to get old because here's a new thing, here's a new thing, here's a new thing.
Well, this is the thing, is because you know what? Like, I often think to myself some days, on dark days, especially coming up to Christmas, I often think to myself, I will never be as happy as the Christmas of 1996, I believe, when Ocarina of Time came out.
98, yeah.
And I sat, I got the year wrong, but when I sat and played it on Christmas, and I always think, and I don't get depressed about it, but I sort of think, I'm just aware now.
No, I get
I'm an
that.
adult.
I think I said the same thing to Brett
I
the
will
other
never
day.
be that happy again. That was the pinnacle of my life. And that's fine. I've come to accept that. But what was
Accept
nice
your
about
peaks.
that was just hearing that beautiful music
Brings it back.
redone by a live band in orchestral style to an incredible degree. It regressed me immediately
exactly.
to being a mental kid.
Spot on.
And I can't wait to play it for that reason alone.
And that is it. And like I said, the only thing, and we're going to touch upon this because otherwise we are getting into review territory, which we're not allowed to do. Obviously, a lot has been made, mostly by me, about the Switch and how they're dealing with items this time. You don't find them in dungeons, you rent them, and then eventually you can buy them.
Sounds so weird. I don't.
All we're going to say is it could be a potential sticking point. But
You hate it.
But I've only started tinkering around with it properly in the last couple of hours.
It sounds
so we'll,
interesting.
We'll leave it as interesting for now. And let's just say at the moment I'm on the fence about it, and then we'll leave it there.
Yeah.
But what I can say, even regardless of what kind of side of the fence I fall down on, it won't massively take away from my love and appreciation of this game, because it's just brilliant.
Why would they even think about introducing that change? Anyway?
I think I know why, but I don't think I can talk about it without ignoring the
It just
terms
seems
of
like
my umbungo.
something that they've changed maybe for the sake of changing, because that's always been the way it was in Zelda.
No, I think there's a definite reason for it.
Right, okay.
Yeah, it does.
Although I think it maybe was powered by that thing. We have to change something, but then justified by something else. And I feel like I'm teasing it a bit. I don't mean to. I just we will get.
We are in,
slapped
we'll
on-
get in
slapped on the
trouble.
wrist.
So that's fair enough. We'll leave it there for now. But I will say that I've gone from being a bit cynical about it to very excited, purely based on the music alone, which some people would say is insane. But
Music's a powerful tool in all media, but in games
it is. I think in
especially.
games particularly, we talked about this last night. Stuff like Hotline Miami would be nothing. Sorry,
Yeah.
Chris.
I was just going to say, I've rarely seen Simon quite as happy as I did last night when he was playing that. So
I got a real shot of happiness as well.
It's true.
Just from that sound.
It's true. It makes
But,
that game makes me happy.
Yeah, I'm really glad to hear it's shaping up well. And we'll definitely do some more stuff on it. When's it out?
It's mid-November. So what's that? 3 weeks from when we're
3
recording this and
weeks.
stuff. We can start talking about it in about a week and a half,
Isn't
10
it the
days.
same day as
so.
Xbox? 22nd of November?
Yeah, I think it is the same day as
Brilliant.
Xbox. So it
Well
doesn't matter
timed.
that it exists within its own.
And then
its own
Mario the
bubble.
week later. Same day as
in
PS4.
the lead
Brilliant.
up to that, we might try and do a Mega Zelda podcast.
Oh yes, please.
We should, even
I'd
if
be
it's
well up
just
for that.
me and you, because
Yeah, definitely.
nobody else is that fussed about Zelda.
Brad, you
I
can
love
bring
Zelda.
questions. You can bring questions in, and we can do a Q&A.
Oh, you've got to bloody play. Brad's
Yeah,
never
you
played a Zelda game.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's my great shame.
We think we're going to get into play Ocarina of Time
Well,
on
that's it.
3DS.
I've
I think
got-
that's a good starting point.
I've got a 3DS and an Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, I do too.
I need the right starting place, because everything you've said about the game you're playing at the moment is that it sounds like a Zelda game for Zelda fans. All the nostalgia building up,
Yeah, probably.
the music sounds great because you heard the original.
Well, I mean, the music is still just awesome
Yeah.
music.
I am familiar with Zelda. It's so ingrained in the culture that
What is a Zelda?
it's not like I've completely ignored it.
I
but-
think you should play Ocarina of Time. and
I'm
then go
remarkably
into this.
tempted to buy a 3DS XL just so I can just almost permanently
give it
wrap
to
my
him.
3DS,
And then-
just so he can play
Yeah.
Ocarina of Time.
Get him
I
to
might
do
do
it.
that today. Actually, I'm feeling mental.
Oh, God.
I might do that today.
Do it. But on the subject of what Dave just said quickly before we leave Nintendo World, you and I, Matt, had a bit of a Mario play as
So you
well.
can say fight.
We had a fight. No, we played a bit of Mario. I always it's Super Mario World 3D.
Super Mario 3D World.
Super Mario 3D
Brothers.
World.
I think
right.
it's pronounced Super Mario Bros.
Sorry,
3D
Super Mario
World.
Brothers. I want to be a cat. We had a go of that, and I just want to say that the Wii U I think is dead now. It's sold 460,000
Yeah, no, it
in the
is.
last 6 months. I don't think even Mario save the Wii U. I don't think.
let's not piss about here. I think it's important we talk about this briefly because people often say on the podcast that we hate Nintendo.
I love Nintendo. I'm
In
a
the
Nintendo
comments,
fanboy.
people go, "Why you guys always hate Nintendo?" And it's like we don't. We absolutely don't. We all got so much love for Nintendo.
I'm the least Nintendo guy here, but I absolutely love the Wii U. I really like that console.
I love the
It's
Wii U. It's just
it-
not selling. I
Yeah,
can't
exactly.
help that.
And
We
because of
don't
that-
have the
that's
power
the
to
thing.
change
It's not
that.
selling, and right now it's too much to invest in.
exactly.
I would probably Dreamcast it, as I say, when it really does fall, when it
Yeah.
hits upon such hard times that it is like bargain basement price. I'll get one, but I'm not willing to invest in a piece of hardware that I know is dying and
Exactly.
soon to be abandoned.
I think
Let's be honest.
I think your feelings are shared by a lot of people.
Yeah.
Hence why I think everybody thinks, oh, the price will drop and I'll get one. I have to have one for Mario and then Mario Kart.
I mean,
and then eventually Zelda.
Aside from first party support, it's really dead now. I mean,
It's the Nintendo machine, as it always is.
You've got like Call of Duty and Assassin's Creed 4, but it's like the number of platforms in my house that can run Assassin's Creed 4 and Call of Duty now. It's like
Deus Ex 2 years after it came out.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great game, but it's not. Yeah,
no, it's true. But
anyway, Mario.
We did play Mario, and
it's brilliant.
It is fantastic. Like I think you and I had a chat about this, Matt. The 2D ones were okay, but I didn't really like them. Whatever it was, they felt, by the numbers, they did feel like... I mean, they felt like sequels. And the best thing about Mario games is they don't feel like sequels. They all feel like new events. Whereas the 2Ds one just felt like, haven't I played this already? And they were okay, and they were fun, and the co-op elements were all right. But, you know, I didn't really get me excited. You know, I didn't get it. And for me to say that about a Mario Nintendo game is disgusting.
Mario's always an enigma for me. That's it. Mario's always like a weird enigma in the fact that it's always the same, right? It always feels the same somehow.
But they find a way
and yet when you play it, it feels fresh and surprising and magical.
Exactly. There you go. And that's true.
It doesn't quite make sense in your head how they've done that. I mean, obviously, Mario Galaxy was quite obvious. It was like they've done bloody floating space planets. This is mental.
It's wonderful.
And I don't think 3D World is as impressive as Galaxy.
No, it doesn't have that impact that it does, but it does have, like you say, that magic, that feel of, oh my gosh, Mario. Oh, how do I ever play anything that's not a Mario game?
It's a cool halfway house between what Galaxy was and what Mario has now become. Because Mario really now has stopped being this sort of pixel perfect platformer sort of thing and now become a kind of family multiplayer experience sort of thing.
That's where they've definitely pushed it the last few years, yeah.
What's it doing on the Wii U? Is there anything with the second screen?
Well, it depends, because you can play it on any format, any controller format that Nintendo made in the last 6 years. I think you can play this on.
There are some special things you can do, but we can't talk about that.
We can't. No, I mean we basically, Matt and I played through the first world in co-op. Because obviously, you can do it in co-op now, and it did just feel like a classic Mario game with new levels, with a lot of kind of interesting and special touches that make you laugh, but you're doing it with a friend. But, you know, I mean, my favourite part of it, and I played E3 as well, and you saw it actually, perhaps, when we were there, was when you just go down that waterfall / lake or / river on the back of a dinosaur.
Oh, that was...
It's just fun and stupid and silly, but done in such a serious way from a development point of view that you can't help but think, man, it's just lovely. I agree with you. I don't think it will have the same impact or the same... defining power as Mario Galaxy had, because you are sort of, you know, if you've played, this is where I get confused, 3D Land on the 3DS.
Yeah.
If you play 3D Land, it feels like a spiritual successor to that.
But I love that.
Well, this is my point. Now, you could say that Mario Galaxy 2 did that, but I think, you know, Super Mario 3D Land on the 3DS didn't have as big an impact as Galaxy did. So you have to take all these things into sort of your pot and mix it up and see where you come out. But pushing all that aside, it's a wonderful Mario game. It's a wonderful Wii U game. And it's a game that I have to play. I have to finish it. You know, we're going through it at the moment for review. And it's just, you know, I'm excited to see how, well, I hope that each level gets more complex and more kind of, you know, interesting the way it kind of takes Mario. Because that's what they always do. You never really know what they're going to do with the levels. They always change it up. And so even from, you know, way back with Mario 64, that's what they did. Each painting you jumped in, it's like, oh, what are they going to do? What are they going to do? So hopefully they'll do more of that. I mean, we're still early days with it. But it's wonderful. It's lovely. And it just reminds me why I love Nintendo to begin with. And I think if you have a Wii U and you're excited about Mario, keep that emotion up.
Yeah, I mean, I think I really enjoyed it. I think it's great. It reminds me in a lot of ways of like the Lego games of being like fun and varied enough to keep anyone interested, but also easy enough that you're not going to get really annoyed. A lot of people got really annoyed when we made the video in the comments.
Because we made a passing comment about difficulty.
Yeah, I made a passing comment that I kind of thought, based on what I played, that it suggested to me it was going to be quite an easy game.
Yeah.
And I'd stand by that just because it was throwing lives at us like nobody's business. And also, I mean, one of the main elements with the 2-player thing is the way that the bubble works. When you die, you go into a bubble.
Yeah, you just float back in.
You float back.
Rayman. Like Rayman.
It's like Rayman, but the difference is that in Rayman, somebody else has to pop the bobble. So it means that if you die, you've got to basically float next to your mate and say, get me back. Otherwise, if they die before it happens, you lose. Whereas in Mario, you can unpop your own bubble whenever you want.
You can get popped, but you can unpop it too.
The disgust on Dave's face at the thought of
popping. And this is the point. And this is why I kind of got a bit miffed when like thousands of kids in this video we made about Mario Brothers were like, it's not going to be an easy game. How can you say this after only playing it for an hour? It's like, well, because I'm a games journalist. So
yeah, I mean, there's every chance that, you know, there's the secret worlds like there were on 3D Land.
I'm sure there'll be
mirror
some
worlds.
Stuff, don't get me wrong.
The levels I always come back to, which were some of my favourite, were in Super Mario Sunshine, when it took away the flood plaque, and you had these amazing platform Mario levels, and they were. I mean, you had to be really good at video games to do them.
Hard,
They were hard. Now they may introduce some of that because they weren't. You didn't have to do those. in Sunshine. You could ignore them. So there may be that end, but, you know, if you look at the first world and you take it away and you look at what they did with 3D Land or, you know, the 2D ones, and it does come across with the sensation.
3D Land had some fucking
Oh, no,
tough.
3D Land was really, really hard.
Yeah.
But it was only hard if you did the levels that you didn't have to do.
Well, it was the
You know?
ones that came along after you finished.
That's right.
It kind of, yeah, there were two sides to it.
Yeah, the
wasn't there,
Star
really?
Worlds, after you got through the whole game,
Yeah.
are good grief. When you're getting chased by that guy, who I think was just Water Mario or Shadow Mario, isn't it? I
something
can't
like that.
remember
Dark
now.
Mario, something
Something like that. But when you're getting chased by him, my gosh, you've got to be a platforming whiz to get away with that stuff. But they are stuff outside the main game. If, you know, 3D World,
Yep.
Kapow, start
Nice.
giving me better names,
Land and
Nintendo.
World, yeah. It's
3D Galaxy.
It'll do. If 3D World does that, I'll take it. If I have a nice sort of 8-world game where it's nice to play with a friend and then I can go back through them all and get my hardcore edge, then fine, that's cool. But if you go back to a game like Mario 64 had levels that you had to do that would kick your ass.
Well, that's,
you know,
that's the
they're
thing
genuinely
is,
really tough.
That's what I was going to say. Is like,
Yeah.
you know, I don't think a lot of people I say when I say it's going to be an easy game, I think they see it as a slur, and it's not.
No, not at all.
Because
Not at all.
I love just games that are fun. Like my
Yeah,
favorite
exactly.
bit, as you
I don't
say,
like a challenge
that
really
bloody
anymore.
dinosaur bit. It wasn't hard. Like it was. We kept messing it up, but that was because we were stupid.
Yeah.
But I had
true.
so much fun doing it,
Yeah,
despite
exactly.
the fact that I never felt challenged by it.
No,
it was
not at
just
all. Not at all.
joyful, and I think that's the sort of game it's going to be. And you know what? That's fucking.
I'm
fun.
well up for that. There's plenty of games out there to kick my ass. If I
But-
can just have a wonderful, magical experience that I get through in a few hours, I'm all right with it. I really am.
I got to say, I do miss, and I really wish they would do another kind of 3D Mario, kind of over the shoulder like Mario 64.
Yeah.
Just because there's something different about playing a Mario game on your own. Playing with friends and having that fun party
No, I
experience
agree,
is
yeah.
wicked. But it's simple things in Mario 64. Like, do you remember that bit when you went and you slid down the tunnel and you met the Nessie for the first
Yeah,
time? And then
so
you realised
good.
you could jump on his head and steer him round.
Yeah.
And it's just like that. So there was something weird about Mario 64. It wasn't just that it was hard. It was almost like at times, not scary, but the element of exploration and not knowing what was happening.
No,
it had an atmosphere.
Yeah, there was a sense of dread to it at times. And this, you know, especially like with that infinite staircase you can go up when you haven't got enough stars. Like small things like that. It would, you know, it was family friendly, but yeah, it had an edge. 100%, definitely.
Yeah,
did.
that's the thing is even
I think it's
sorry.
I was going to say, I think it's the co-op aspect that they changed
Yeah,
their
that's it.
approach, don't they? Because
Yeah,
they want it to
100%.
be
They want it a
Family
family.
even
fun.
actually,
family game now.
to be
don't
fair,
they?
even actually with Mario Sunshine, like a lot of people liked it. I didn't really get on with Mario Sunshine, but I think one of the reasons for that was because it did feel to me like it lacked atmosphere in some ways.
That's
it was
what a lot
all
of
a
people
bit
said, didn't they?
happy and
Yeah.
cheery. Where what I liked about Mario 64 was the fact that it had some really happy stuff, but also, you know, even like going around that massive tall place with the giant Goombas and it getting
Yeah.
like higher and higher and the wind
definitely.
whistling.
Yeah.
It had a real sense of place, and I liked the sense of exploration. Whereas this, it just feels like you're just a bunch of people just rattling through fun little worlds. and
Exactly.
doing stuff.
It was definitely more of a, for lack, you know, this is not the right term, but we use it, more of an adult Mario game. in the sense
which is
that-
weird.
Yeah.
Like to think back,
But
and
kids could still play it. It's like a Disney film, you know? Like
never
a Disney
thought-
film that managed to sort of cater for everyone, but still have that adult theme that you don't really get if you're an adult.
and the big when you got really shrunk and there were massive Goombas and massive fish.
Let's face it, Mario 64 is
amazing.
a masterpiece.
It was a
I mean, it really,
masterpiece.
really is a masterpiece. Have you played Mario 64,
Yeah.
Brad? Okay. Did you
Imagine
like it?
that.
Yeah, of course I
Okay,
did.
good.
Can
I
you-
get worried.
I'm just thinking back in time now. Imagine, like, at the time, imagine if people said, like, oh, Mario 64, this will be remembered as one of the most adult Mario games in the series. People would have gone,
Laugh.
fuck off.
Yeah, well, you
Starts off with you, like, chucking a bomb off a mountain. He's got a crown on his
Oh,
head.
I love that game.
It's such a good game.
So good. But and I think it won't be as good as that, but I still think this will be a great entry.
That's
in
the thing.
Mario
And I reckon
franchise.
everybody knows
Absolutely
that
brilliant.
now. I reckon
Yeah.
everyone knows. It's
Yeah,
not
everyone
gonna be
seems on
like
board.
that.
Everyone seems on board with it, though. There's a lot of positive coverage and sort of hope
It is mad.
and anticipation for it, which is nice. I like
Especially
it.
because, I mean, I've already caned the Rayman games, so I'm looking forward to... Well, I say I'm looking forward to playing Christmas. I probably won't because I have a Wii U.
Well, one day in
mind.
the future.
Anyway, moving on.
It's that-
yeah,
it's that time.
there's a lot of Nintendo love. I'm liking this. But
I always
guess-
love Nintendo.
I guess-
Even when they do bad, I love Nintendo.
Honestly, 3DS is the console of the year.
I agree with that.
I keep saying it, and at the moment, it's not going to change.
If Zelda goes the way that it's going, then yeah, the 3DS will
so many
own
good
everything.
So many good 3DS games this year. I actually said it on Twitter. I said, 3DS one of the best consoles this year, and somebody went, "Oh, yeah, it's a shit console though, and the games are all shit." I'm like, are you an idiot? Like, if you consider yourself a gamer, as in somebody who likes
There must
games,
be something on it that you like.
Well, I was saying, if you
surely.
think of
Bravely
yourself,
Default in December as well, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Getting a lot
Which
of
is
hype.
so many
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
And that's the thing is, if you think of yourself as a gamer, as in somebody who enjoys playing games, right? And that's what I think the core of it is. It's not about having an Xbox or having a PlayStation.
No, it's just you enjoy the
It's just
experience.
you
yeah.
enjoy games.
Yeah.
If you can look at the 3DS and look at all the games that have come out for the 3DS in the past 2 years and say the 3DS is rubbish, doesn't have any good games, then you're either ignorant or an idiot.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, a lot of people still
there
slag
must
it
be
off.
one.
No.
Because it goes from every end
There's
of the
so
spectrum.
many.
Yeah,
Precisely,
if you want
like-
something that's ridiculously hardcore, you've got Fire Emblem or something
You've
like
got
that.
Fire Emblem, you've got Monster Hunter,
Yeah.
you've got Resident Evil Revelations was really
a good game, really good. The
You've
raid
got
mode was
Kid
awesome.
Icarus, you've got,
Kid Icarus is good too.
you know, Professor Layton's still quite fun. You've got
But
new Ace Attorney.
But that way, look at that. Naturally, you've literally started sort of spinning to the other way, where you get these more sort of crazy, accessible games.
Yeah.
Like Professor Layton is a puzzle game for everybody. That's what it was made for.
They're fun.
You know,
They're
so
good fun.
It's made for.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But yeah, just honestly,
I
give
love
the
the
3DS.
3DS.
Give the 3DS a chance.
Give it a chance. Nintendo done it again. The handheld masters.
What about the 2DS?
2DS, nah. Well, I mean, it's great if you're a kid.
If you're a kid and you want
not a
Pokemon for Christmas, then man, you're going to go nuts for it. Especially
yeah.
if it's for parents that are terrified they're going to break. You can't break that thing.
That's
you
it.
held one.
Yeah.
You cannot break it, and it's built to last.
I got really annoyed about that, about the whole like 2DS thing. But that's just because I've been holding out for a luxury 3DS that's like the DS Lite.
Yeah, so I think it's the opposite of the Wii U for me. Like I think it's got such incredible games on it, but the 3D concept never really
I like the 3D.
sold me. No, I didn't want to pay extra for the 3D stuff, but that isn't really what the 3DS is about, even though that's in its
Well,
name.
that's what it was originally.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, and that's when it first came out.
I think that's where some of the hate comes from, to be honest. Maybe that's...
Yeah, when it first came out, it was pretty awful, and it didn't have any good games.
But
I mean,
do like how the 3D. It does add a certain something to game.
the 3D mini games were wicked.
I don't like it when they use it. Well, no, they were cool. I do like, but I don't. I'm more about the depth it gives it visually than the actual functionality of it. Like going back to Zelda, just because it's topical. Like, or I turned it off last night because my battery was dying, and I was between plug
been
sockets.
playing it for 8 hours.
Yeah. So I thought, okay, well, I'll just turn it off to save some battery. And I didn't enjoy it. I mean, it was a tiny little difference, but I did enjoy it more with that 3D depth. It just gives it a nice.
I think it
feel.
works when it's used properly in terms of not giving too much depth.
Yeah, you're
I
probably
think
right,
a little
yeah.
bit of depth is lovely.
Yeah. Well, I always have it on sort of 3/4 up. No one needs to know that. There you go. That's how I
Simon
my 3D.
Miller's personal 3D preference.
I only go for a third up. There we go. We're all learning something about each other and our preferences.
Oh dear.
Anyway,
Nintendo love.
It's not about Nintendo. It's about the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 and
The
resolutions.
One man in this room has all the answers to
Yes,
these questions
Dave,
and
please.
more.
Look at him. Look at him. Look at
Like,
how
you say-
smug he is in the
Think
corner
you're,
over there.
You're in such a minority of people right now, Dave. You've caressed these machines.
Oh man! He even wants his own introduction music. What
That
the
was more
crap-
like the
That's
Terminator.
The Battlefield 3.
Yeah, it was a little bit, wasn't it?
Although DICE did steal that from the Terminator.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
DICE, but you did.
So yeah, Xbox One and PS4. I think everyone knows already by the.
But they want to
reaction
hear
on the
it from
internet.
your voice.
What do they want to hear? Go on,
well,
guide me through what I should be saying.
Okay.
What's
Is-
Battlefield 4 like
is
on next-gen
Battlefield
machines?
4
Battlefield
good
4
video
next
game?
gen is very good. It's very good. And people keep asking me what's the difference between next gen and PC. There are subtle differences between the next gen and absolute top end PC versions. The difference, you know what? If you play Battlefield 4 on PS4, you will not complain. You will go, "This game looks amazing."
Yeah, well,
There are subtle differences in like the lighting and the particle effects. They're turned down slightly less particle effects on next gen. But really,
We did a comparison vid between the PS4 and the Xbox One versions. Although it should be noted actually that since then one of the guys from DICE has
They've
tweeted
come out, haven't they? and said,
saying
yeah.
that there's going to be a day one patch for Xbox One.
there's a shock.
But
Little dig there, Dave.
but, I mean, like our overall assessment was they both look very nice. Like
Well,
that was
they do.
Well, yeah, I mean, the video that we've got, it was shot obviously at 720p, 30 frames per second. The difference really comes when you play it on a 1080p
Yeah.
TV. Now, it's come out since there are other reports saying that perhaps the PS4 version is 900p. When I was watching it, I wouldn't have been able to tell that it was lower than 1080p.
that's the thing is all this P stuff. Who's got the eyes for it?
I know. It
Yeah, I don't get it.
looked
I don't
amazing.
get it.
Because I played the Xbox One version and I came away being able to admire what they've done with next gen, but also there's that sense of it didn't feel like as big a step up as I was perhaps imagining it to be.
Yeah, a lot of people
because
did,
there were the jaggies, because of the lower resolution. You could tell it was upscaling. I didn't know what from. I assumed it was 720p. I assume it still is 720p. Then we played PS4, and the difference is instantly known. You can notice it straight away. And
That
it
was
wasn't
hard to
just
say,
like there were
wasn't
a
it,
couple of us in the room that were saying that. We're all talking about how the difference
Yeah.
is. Whether that extends onto other games, was it just a Battlefield 4 thing? It sounds like it might extend onto other games as well.
What could
but
you possibly be talking about?
I
then?
don't know what I could be
say it.
talking about.
Don't say it.
There-
Just tease and move on.
There are other games coming out on
Tease
all
and
of the
move
these
on.
platforms. that may be in the same situation, I'm going to move on.
Move on, please move on.
It's
my fault. I did it. It's my bad.
But, I mean, we've been talking about this briefly in the office. It's put me in a funny situation
Yeah.
because, as you said on the video, I've always leaned towards Xbox because that's where my friends are. I prefer the network, and I love the achievements. But going ahead, I don't know whether this is going to be a long-term thing, where the resolutions are going to happen for years. There's going to be a big difference, or whether it's just a problem at launch. I'm hoping it is.
Well, it seems like Xbox are just leaning so heavily on this cloud solution to really kind of ramp up things.
It does sound like it.
And the thing is, I've gone from being really excited by that because the problem is, if they're not careful, they'll end up like the PlayStation did with the Cell of having like expecting game devs to specifically create functions for a system that. And I mean, the thing is, that would have worked and would work, because it still might be the case, if the Xbox goes on to sell vastly more than any other console.
There's got to be a big reason.
But if they don't, then if it just ends up being like a bit more at first, then it means that... Because the problem is, it's about what happens in the month of launch. If the Xbox One sells shitloads immediately, then devs will go, okay, batten the hatches, let's start working on this cloud stuff. But if it doesn't, then what's going to happen is the same as what happened with the Wii U.
I was about to say, the Wii U is perfect. If that had sold triple, more than that, 10 times, everyone gone, man, figure out stuff out. But when they don't, even EA said it. Why are we going to make games for that? No point. It's the same with Xbox One. I totally agree.
It's just, you got to go harsh about it sometimes. But
yeah, it's weird for people who are holding off purchasing, and here one of the big differences are the things that the Xbox can do with this cloud network. It's a shame there isn't anything in the launch window that they can go, well, that's exactly what we're using it for.
And I've got to say, the whole Titanfall thing just feels really bait and switch to me. I was really unimpressed by that.
That's the news.
Is anybody else
night, right?
not? It's a bit coincidental, isn't it? That the day all this nonsense about Battlefield 4 comes out, EA and Xbox go, oh, by the way, Titanfall's never coming out for the PS4. That seems very coincidental to me.
The weird quote they had, it was not in the light in its lifetime or something. It was
what's his name?
Some strange wording.
Zampella.
There's some weird stuff
Who's the one that
going on.
left? West left, didn't he?
Zampella
tweeted saying, I literally only just found out about this pretty much. That
then
sounds
there was a sad face on the end of the tweet.
That sounds like to me, this is an exact... You see all this, Xbox One doesn't look good, but if you can't get Titanfall and anything else, so fuck you. It seems very coincidental
the whole thing
to me.
is just, I don't know. And, but it's more the fact that Titanfall is... And also because Zampella said that he didn't even know about the whole exclusivity thing.
Yeah, he said he literally found out recently. He didn't say what, but recently sounds like to me that this was a... Right, everything I'm about to say is completely speculative.
Yeah.
But... if you see all this nonsense come out about visuals, which it doesn't matter what it matters to sort of the minority, a lot of people give a shit about visuals.
Yeah.
And then they need something. Go on.
I was going to say, but they must have known about this in advance. They had a statement prepared. I can't remember who it was. I don't want to name the outlet because I might get it wrong. But they had a statement prepared saying, oh, it's up to developers to choose resolutions. So they must have known that this was going to kick off this week.
And then all of a sudden, this Titanfall news comes out. That just sounds to me like a lot of...
For so long, though,
something changed hands
for so long, though,
to make sure that they had an exclusive in
Microsoft
place.
have been jumping to the defensive, going on forums, commenting, saying, oh, Xbox One is powerful, blah, 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 blah. But, well, now the truth is out there. Games are performing
It's
better.
like a really shit X-Files
Games
episode.
performing better on PS4. And I don't know what they can do now, because they've jumped to the defensive so long. It's now going to get to a case of, well, now you're just... what can you do? You can't really win from this situation. It's best to... They've always said, wait till the games are here and then make your own mind up. And that's kind of been their defence mechanism for the last few months.
Yeah.
The games are now here, and frankly, they look better on PS4. So I don't really know. I think it could be a total disaster for Microsoft. These initial launch games.
There you go.
Honestly,
total disaster,
I think
David
the Titanfall news is just frustrating because a lot of people are going to be, if you're looking to be an Xbox fan, then it's going to be like, yes, well, the Xbox has Titanfall. It's a lazy way of pushing your console forwards in comparison to PlayStation. Because
as I say,
it's just chucking money to get an exclusive.
Well, that's always been the way.
I know, but it doesn't help. It doesn't help.
Well, no, I disagree. I think I'm with Simon on this. It has always been the way. And I've got no problem with that, right? What I've got a problem with is the bait and switch, is the fact that all of the TV adverts for Xbox really heavily focus on Titanfall, a game which is not out till March. Like,
that is
it's not out for 5 months.
Well, they've also...
I mean, that's ridiculous. Like, they're going, buy an Xbox One, play Titanfall exclusively in like almost half a year.
Well, that's the thing.
The
that's just
financials, EA's financials last night, they said they're always on track for Titanfall for March, April or May, around that period. But they managed to bring it ahead to March, managed to nail that down. And I get the impression it's because Microsoft can now go, in our launch window, we have Titanfall. That's going to be the marketing thing.
Well,
whereas if it was April or May, that would have just pushed it beyond that
That's
little bit.
6 months is the launch window, isn't it? Which is always bollocks.
Well, 6
I hate
months
that
would still
term.
extend to May, wouldn't
Yeah,
it?
well,
But
that's
it's just that little bit further beyond that you can kind of get
Yeah.
away with, I think.
Yeah, the whole thing just seems fuzzy to me. And I do think it does actually, this laziness is key here, but actually on the PlayStation side to do with tech, I think it's actually panning out really well for PlayStation at the moment because of that RAM, because of that basically super speed RAM. Because what's happened is the Xbox, I think the games by next year will probably look like identical.
Yeah, I think they'll catch up.
Or even better, maybe.
Yeah.
But the problem is, people are trying to optimize games for hardware on these two new bits of hardware, and they haven't had much time to try and optimize them.
Yeah.
So it's just a case of fudging it. It's just a case of just chuck it all in the box and make it run as well as you can. And the problem is with the Xbox thing is there isn't much room there isn't much brute power going on there. It's a powerful bit of machine, but they're really relying on this cloud system
this promise.
for fixing things in the future. But because the PlayStation 4 has this phenomenally expensive type of RAM in it, and lots of it, it just means that basically shove it into the box and go, oh, it doesn't run very well. Oh, it's all right, just chuck more RAM in it. Because to a degree, you can just chuck more RAM in it. And it means that things are immediately working better on the PS4. And I think it might actually do them such, I don't know, I think it could be a really big deal.
But it screams of a developer that's learnt a lesson. Because you mentioned the cell process. They're like, oh, cell's going to be amazing. And all the developers went, what the flip is this? I didn't get this. Whereas now, here's a fuckload of RAM.
Couldn't agree more.
Developers know what to do with that. That's like your concrete. You know, you cement the mix of mortar. It just sounds like Sony, from a price point of view, from a technical point of view. I haven't used the OS, so I don't know, but I'm going to assume they've learned from that and the horrible cross-media bar. It just sounds like they've learned a lesson from the PS3.
I could not agree more. I think they've been technically humbled. I suspect what's happened with the Xbox One, because they had all this talk when the Xbox One came out and everyone went, I don't like it, that sounds like bullshit. They went, guys, we've had thousands of the world's best scientists working this out. And I think that's part of the problem. I think the Xbox One has been designed by a committee of very, very smart technical people, right, who have aimed to make an incredible piece of hardware. And that's great. That's fine. But I get the impression that was how the PlayStation 3 came about.
That's a very good point.
And I think what's happened with the PlayStation 3, again, this is all just speculation, but I would not be surprised if it was just simply a case of Sony having meetings with all the top devs and going, what do you want?
Yeah, maybe.
And as you say,
the way they presented it,
just going, RAM, please. Just shitloads of RAM.
By the time they've worked it out, though, is there not a fear that it'd just be too late? It's because so there's two cross-platform games for the next gen launch that are probably the biggest games: Battlefield, Call of Duty. Can't say much because I don't know. But the rumour is that Call of Duty suffers from much the same thing. That's the rumour on all the forums at the moment. If those two games come out and one performs noticeably better on PS4, and they are the games that everyone is buying these consoles for,
it will make a massive dent.
People are going to go, well, fuck Xbox.
Is that quick? That will happen. That will happen.
And it's weird because for so long, Xbox and Call of Duty have been associated for years. And if the rumour turns out to be true and it does perform better on PS4, I mean, what's going on there? Battlefield as well, they've been pushing that heavily on Xbox One.
I think, one of the things we have to bear in mind is when the shift originally occurred from the PlayStation 3 to the Xbox 360, and we talked about this before, it was a really slow shift. It was a cultural shift.
Yeah.
And I remember being around for when that happened, of having people gradually going, no, I'm not getting Xbox 360. Why? Because PlayStation's the best? Because PlayStation was the best. And there was no arguing with people who thought that. That was just what they believed. And of course, a lot of those people never went away. But an awful lot of people gradually went, oh, well, actually, Xbox is pretty good. I'm going to get one of those.
Once people believe something, it's very hard to change their mind.
It changed in public perception as well. It wasn't do you play PlayStation, it became do you play Xbox.
Yeah,
that happened.
absolutely.
Microsoft dominated the living room.
But, and I think this is the really vital thing, the difference in the situation was when that happened, Xbox was still nothing. It was nobody. I mean, hardcore gamers knew what Xbox was, but apart from that, it was just
the original one.
Yeah, the Xbox 360 even, it started out as nothing. And it was basically Xbox was trying to launch itself as a brand, and Sony was so established.
Oh,
at
yeah,
that
massively.
Point, which meant they had a very uphill battle. But I think the battle this time is different, because I think Microsoft's sitting there going, we've probably got this one. Well, that's what they were thinking 6 months ago. I don't know what they're thinking now. But actually, it's so much easier because Sony is so established. It's not like the battle. I think a lot of people look at it the same way, but it's not. I think really all Sony have to do is say, "Go, do you want to come back?" Because there's so many people who are hardcore Xbox fans now, have been Xbox fans for the past 10 years, used to be PlayStation fans.
I don't think Sony's done things perfectly. Up till now, it's obviously
I don't think so
the
either.
war of the words, and I think
public perception's been with them as well, hasn't it?
No, totally. But I think that they've conveniently positioned certain things in
Yeah,
a
well,
certain way that then they haven't told the entire truth about certain things.
Absolutely.
And it's worked out very well for them. Now the point is, it's obviously all about the games, and as we said just now,
their ad campaign is so fucking savvy. Though that advert with the across the generations of showing
well,
you,
it's all about remember how good PlayStation
It's nostalgia
was.
again.
Precisely.
Yeah,
and that's what I'm saying
it's
is
very
that
true.
they don't.
Forget all that PS3 bollocks. Remember all that?
The Xbox
Really
360
good, wasn't
had
it?
the challenge of trying to introduce itself as a brand new brand, and that was better than your
And it
favourite
did,
brand.
and it did it. Yeah,
All
you're right.
PlayStation have to do to pull this one back is say, "Do you remember how good PlayStation was?"
Yeah, no, you're right.
They did miss out the part in that advert where the guy purchased for 360 to play Halo 3 instead. We quite glossed over that. But yeah,
and the guy played Resident 4 on a PS2 and not
Yeah.
a GameCube.
Fuck
Yeah.
No, but yeah, I honestly think it's anybody's. It's quite exciting, but this is what annoys me. Is I think this is what's interesting when you start talking about the RAM, the cloud, the business conversations that may or may not be happening. I think this console war is a fascinating one. I just find it utterly depressing that the internet largely seems to be fixating around resolution.
But do you know why it is, though?
Yeah.
I was thinking about this morning, and we mentioned this a few weeks back, but just to go over it again, it's because you jumped to Nintendo 64, PlayStation, it's 3D graphics. You jumped to 360 PS3, it was HD graphics. What's the jump this time? Oh, we got more tech. We got more tech. So what's the easiest thing you can pull out of that? What looks better? That's the easy thing you pull out. Because when you jump from your Xbox 360, and you flick that switch, and you see something in 720p, you go, my gosh, it
And
looks
let's be
good.
honest, this should be 1080.
Well, yeah,
Everything
but it
should be 1080.
I know,
on
but that's
the
what I
next-gen
mean.
console.
But that's what and people they were more forgiving then, because if you played, I can't think of any cross-gen games now, but whatever. If you played that on the Xbox and you play it on the Xbox 360 or PS2 and PS3, instantly you go, my gosh, that looks good.
Gun.
I've seen it. But now it's just, well, we're more powerful than the ones we did before. So the easiest thing you can grab onto is it looks better on PS4, therefore PS4. Because people, they love that. They like to justify their purchase. They like to know that we're going through some kind of a
early
change.
purchases,
And that's what
definitely.
it is.
I mean, it's like people who went out and bought Blu-ray week one. Anyone who's got like 300, 400 quid to drop on a box like this, they are going to be tech heads. And
No, yeah,
they're going to be the
yeah.
sort of people
Of
who
course.
literally will, they're not just going to be somebody who goes down to the shops and goes, I'm going to buy a HD telly. Why? Oh, because I want a HD telly. I'll just get one off the
they'll
shelf.
know all the...
They're the people who go and say, well, I'm either going to get this model of Samsung or I'm going to get Sony Bravia. Like, they're people who actually, tech heads who've done that
Research
research.
into it,
And I think that in the second wave of sales, when they're a bit cheaper and people are just going to buy an Xbox, I don't know, times are tough. Times have been tough for the past 7 years.
Then it becomes about brand, doesn't it?
I think it's difficult. I think not as many people this generation have the money to just go out and drop 400 quid on a new box.
No.
It's made things interesting. I think the games are better on Xbox. But I think that obviously the performance of the multi-platform
An
stuff
early day. Also,
appears to
before
be PS4.
we get too off track, Battlefield 4 is really good, right?
feels really good. Really good.
Sorry, back to Battlefield.
You know what? When I was playing it
Oh
on...
God, I think we just did what all YouTube comments do. We start talking about Battlefield 4 and then
we
descend into, well, PlayStation is actually better. So,
Oh, God. You're right.
what have we proved?
Internet always wins.
When you play it on next gen, you don't really appreciate the jump so much when you just go straight to playing a game on next gen. You don't see the visual tweaks and all that.
No, of course
it
you
offers.
don't.
And then I went back to the current gen afterwards, and yeah, massive step up. Well, having said that, the current gen version does a good job.
Yeah,
Like,
we thought when we installed we gave it a hard time without the HD textures, but
the single player in that game, the opening sequence looks incredible. I don't know how they've
But
managed to do
you
it.
enjoyed the campaign more than other Battlefield campaigns, correct? I mean, the multiplayer is, I think, universally understood is brilliant.
Yeah,
still.
absolutely.
But the campaign is a step up as well,
The
correct?
campaign is as good as Battlefield's ever been, I think. I don't know if it's better than Bad Company 2's campaign. That was probably one that stands out as being my favourite one.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a lot
It's-
better than 3. Is that, would you agree?
Bad Company 4?
No, yeah, 4.
Sorry, Battlefield 4.
That's the one.
It's better than
Oh, you've
Battlefield
done
3.
it now.
Yeah, I'm so
Battlefield
confused.
Company
Battlefield
4,
4
you heard it here first. No,
What's
3.
the-
We're going straight to 4.
Battlefield 4's campaign is better than Battlefield 3, but it is not as good as it should be. In a game of that calibre, it should be, the story is very weak. We had this big discussion yesterday, me and you, Matt. That is in a
if you
separate
actually, to be honest,
video.
we've actually, in terms of Battlefield 4, well, it's a good job we'll keep it light on that because we've just spent about 15 minutes talking about consoles.
It was amazing how that happened, though.
It was a good chat, though. It was a good chat. But
Battlefield 4 is good. That's good.
Battlefield 4 is
Everyone should
good.
be
And
happy.
actually, we've got loads of videos about Battlefield 4.
Yeah, campaign.
Yeah.
Campaign is it better?
Yeah.
Evolution
For
which is
all
just
tastes,
sort
I
of,
would say.
Yeah, for
Battlefield
all
4
tastes, to
videos
say
for
the
all
least.
tastes.
Yeah, you got a video with Dave talking about the campaign specifically.
So much I've done this last week.
We've got stuff about the Levolutions and how the maps evolve. We've got loads of stuff. We've got
Evolution's great, by the way. I hope they push that for the next one. The big scale destruction stuff.
I like
Because
it
for so long they've always done the Bad Company 2 thing of the little houses and all that falling down. That's fine.
Bring a bloody skyscraper down.
Bring all that bloody dams down. Get it going.
I loved it with some of the DLC for Black Ops 2. They were just like, hey guys, look, there's like the volcano erupts in this level and some lava goes on the streets.
I remember
it is like
Ghosts push the pile of logs down.
in the Black Ops
brilliant.
2 demos before it came out. They showed a level in a chopper, and it was like, we can knock these trees down, and they started shooting, and the trees kind of felt as if they'd been split in half.
Yeah.
And fell over. Everyone just wanted to go.
Battlefield
Don't.
does that, but
but
it's just funny. It's like, you know what? Like, I had much more respect for Call of Duty when it was just adamantly doing its own thing and not trying to do any of that stuff.
Apparently, Ghost goes back to that, but
I'm
can't say
glad,
anything else.
but it's kind of like when they started trying to do that, it was the equivalent of like having some sort of like, you know, a son, a daughter, and the daughter's an auteur, and she's just done this incredible oil painting, and then you're just like, oh, this is fantastic work, Tabitha, and then Davey like pops up with his crayon drawing and goes, look what I've done. And it is like,
what an analogy!
it is like, Dave, like that's a good effort, but you should probably
Why do you use Dave as the
I understand.
Brad, what's it supposed to be? You? Tabitha, Brad.
I'll be Tabitha.
You're Tabitha. Yeah, so I didn't want to use your name,
Yeah.
Chris. But yeah, it's just embarrassing. It's just like, come on, you're making a fool of yourself.
Yeah, you're
Pull
the
your
big
trousers up,
boy in the yard.
Get on with it.
Yeah.
So
there we go. Wow, what a conversation!
If you want a great multiplayer game, obviously you're going to buy it.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, next gen it looks amazing. If you get a next gen console, I would definitely recommend Battlefield. So,
There you go.
Hell yeah.
I'm increasingly, I don't know, I'm tempted to get a PS4 just to get a PS4 with some stuff like this. But I don't know. We'll see. Any other games? What have you been playing, Chris?
Not a lot really. I spent most yesterday with Battlefield 4 as well. To be honest, I don't really want to go over that ground again. We'll get all console mad again.
Nothing wrong with consoles.
No, it's brilliant. No, I've had a quieter week, I think. Sorry.
That's fine.
Well,
Sorry,
before we left the podcast last week, we did mention some stuff about Batman. So I think we'll touch on very
Batman.
briefly. I mean, I've ranted on for far too long anyway, but I don't know if you did so. We had a big rant about Batman, and then we got to our desks, and hey, our copy of Batman had turned up.
Oh, yeah.
Not from Warner Brothers, I'd like to point out.
Yeah.
A pre-ordered version. And you know, I've played it. Now, I'm a big Batman fan. I don't think that's a secret. I actually think I reviewed it in a Batman polo shirt, which was not intentional. I just happened to wear it that day. But here's the thing, and I think most people know now it's come out of there. It's a very, very good version of somebody else's game. And I think that sums it up, you know, really perfectly. If you like that Batman world, if you like what Rocksteady did with it, and you don't mind a subpar version, then Arkham Origins is
I just have no desire to play it. I've bought it, and it's. I just feel like I don't know why. I look at the box and I'm like,
I was just going to say that. Jesus Christ!
Bought this game, not
Full
gonna play.
price. You know.
Bad.
I just look at it and think.
Have you opened the box?
I've played this before. I only played this 2 years ago.
You should
really good,
really
though.
start saving money.
I know.
mean, just do something.
I saw it on Amazon. It was
Gonna play
30 quid. Bought it.
30 quid. That's a lot of
You see
money.
that
It's
jet
so
quid?
much money.
It's 30 quid.
Dave's a secret millionaire. It is really, honestly, I do think it's a really good game. But you know, everything they try and do, you do think Rocksteady do it better. Rocksteady do it better, and I think they know that. I think they've deliberately thought if we just keep it as much like the other one as possible, that way we'll get by sort of kind of unscraped, and maybe we can do something.
Yeah,
else
I guess you can see why some people have found that more grievous.
It does
than
seem
you.
like-
it lacks inspiration, I think you could say.
Is
but
this the team's first game?
yeah, I think it is. I
Warner
said this,
Brothers
but
Montreal, right?
Apparently, they ported the other ones to Wii U or PC
I don't mean
or something.
I mean like their first proper game that they've made.
Yes, I think so.
Right.
And I liked it. I enjoyed it. I can't pretend that I did. There were certain moments in it that made me, fist pump.
So
and
as a
stuff,
first go, it's not a bad first
I think
attempt.
I think it's really good, but I don't want people to if you're not a massive Batman fan, I don't think you run out and buy this. I think you should wait till it drops in price. But at the same time, I think if you do like the Batman games and you enjoy Batman and you enjoy the lore that it teaches and the franchise and stuff like that, you'll have a great time with it because it deliberately, is made for Batman fans.
Is it as enjoyable as Arkham City? You say
No,
that
Arkham City's a better game.
right.
I just feel like I'd pretty much finished after Arkham City because I loved Asylum.
And that's fine.
I got to City and it was that kind of best hits. It threw everything about Batman into one game. I was like, all right, okay, let's
That's
see
the
all
thing.
the villains.
I didn't get on as well with City. and so I'll definitely give this a miss because
you wouldn't like it.
I loved Arkham Asylum. I thought it was amazingly paced.
Yeah, I agree.
Actually reminded me of Metroid, a Super Metroid in a way.
Yes, I totally agree.
But City just felt a bit thinner for me. It has some really nice touches. I love the stuff like that. Some of the little side bits, like the Mad Hatter bit, threw me off. Killed so much. I didn't know what was happening, and it was amazing.
And that's you've hit the nail straight on the head. That's right. Yes,
nicely done,
getting phrases right. Is that within the first 2 hours, maybe 3 hours of this game, Warner Bros. Montreal feel obliged to try and do something similar. And that is the key word. It's identical. And you're like, well, this doesn't mean anything to me now because I've done this. I appreciate that you're trying to give me that same sensation, but you can't take somebody else's idea verbatim and expect me to be
I guess
amazed
this is
by
the thing, and I mean, it hasn't reviewed terribly well across the board.
Up and down. My gosh, it's up and down.
I think it's interesting because there has been quite a big fan backlash to a lot of the negative reviews that I've read. A lot of people have been like, "Oh, fuck you," you know. That is the usual. But I think, as you say, with this, the Batman fan thing, it's kind of important. I'm not saying like massively biased or anything, but I think it's one of these games where I'm not going to bother with it because I'm not a Batman fan. Having said that, like playing Arkham, like made me feel like a Batman fan.
But
it's temporary. And I guess it's like in the comic world, it's the equivalent of like people like me are the sort of people who like read The Dark Knight, and read that the classic. No, what's it called the Death of the Dark Knight. What's it called? That classic
Dark Knight Returns, Year One.
No, the classic black and white comic of the Dark. About Batman being an old man, like
that's Dark Knight Returns.
It's Dark Knight Returns.
Dark Knight Returns.
Okay, so people like me will read the Dark Knight Returns, and we'll go, "Oh, this is a masterpiece." But then other people will just read all the Batman comics, even if they're a bit shit.
That's a wonderful, wonderful comparison. Actually,
and I think the media are kind of treating it as if it's like as they have to, and I think it's
it's more than fair. It's more than fair
comparing it to that stuff. But then it's funny because actually, as you say, I think in a way your review is actually more representative for like big Batman fans in terms of
I
being
said as
like,
much in it. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think that's kind of good though because it's like I don't think it's a bad game from what I've seen of it, but I also think it's not like. I think what was so hard about it is that Arkham Asylum was just such a good game. You didn't need to like Batman. It was just like probably the best game of the year.
Fantastic. Yeah, I totally agree.
But now it's like, you've got to like Batman.
I think that's a good example of reviews being subjective and picking the reviewers that suit you because... if you're a big Batman fan, then you read a review from a big Batman fan.
And that's why I mentioned it in the review, because I wanted people to know that. And the other two ways I look at it are... I've forgotten my second way. Hopefully it'll come back to me. The first way is, if this had been the first Batman game in this trilogy, everyone would have been up in arms about it, because the mechanics are that good. And, Warner Brothers Montreal have done a fantastic job in, making sure they carry that legacy over. It just feels uninspired, because it is uninspired. It's somebody else's inspiration. Therefore, you don't get it. And the other thing is, a lot of people go, well, if Batman wasn't in it, it'd be rubbish. But he is in it. And then you have to take that into account. He is in it. Therefore, if you like Batman, you are going to probably enjoy this Batman game. Also, I've said this so much now, but I say it again, people forget the last flipping Batman games we used to get were Rise of Tinzu. Go and play Rise of fucking Tinzu and tell me you don't like Batman Arkham Origins. You'll be like, it's the equivalent of playing... Oh, what was that awful Midway shooting game? Hour of Victory. It's like playing Hour of Victory and then play Battlefield
With
4.
the ladders?
Yeah. Do you know about that? We talked about this, haven't we? Hour of Victory. You had to pick the class to climb ladders. We'll move on. Batman Arkham Origins is good for the people that it's meant to be good for.
I have a very important question for more reasons than one.
Yes?
Do you ever get in the Batmobile?
No, you get in the Batwing, but you can't control it.
Although,
there is a rumour... I'm not going to say where this rumour came from.
This is a schoolyard thing, isn't it?
It is very, very schoolyard. The game Rocksteady are working on for next generation consoles is a proper open world Batman game in Gotham City, where the way you get to and from is in the Batmobile. Now, if
where's that come from?
They did that in Lego, didn't they?
I told you, schoolyard gossip. Jeez, Dave. Now, if that is
his friend Stephen told by his friend Tabitha,
and Tabitha's dad works for Batman.
Exactly. Now,
works for Xbox.
If that is what they are doing, then my life expectancy is very short, because I'll die after playing that. That would be too good.
Will it not just be Grand Theft Batman?
Yes! Give me that game! Really? Give me it!
I don't know if I'd want that. I don't know if I fancy it.
We'll see. Anyway, let's move forward into pastures new.
Yeah, so I think now's a good time should we have a quick update on the competition?
Yes, it's we've got one week left. We're going to be announcing the winner on next week's podcast. So
very excited about this.
Good luck.
There's a forum thread on the forums, surprisingly, where you can send pictures of Pokemon and win games exchange. And we're going to be doing a kind of a video highlighting our favourite ones this week.
Absolutely, we will be getting on that, because there's been some amazingly terrifying.
Yeah, I think this is one of the more kind of terrifying ranges of drawings we received.
But I like that. If you haven't entered already, then do go over to the Video Gamer forums. And if you go into the podcast section, then I think it's called like Member of the Month, October.
Yep.
We should probably just put the name of the competition in the threads. Actually, it makes more sense because I always
Pokemon.
forget which ones.
Okay.
Because I forget what month it is. It's got Pokemon
I have no idea what day it is.
Can I do one?
Yeah, of course you can do.
I mean, you can't win though because you're employer video
I
gamer.
might do a Pokemango, and it's just a mango as a Pokemon.
Please do.
Right.
Have you taken your medicine?
If you have any ideas as good as that one,
then wow.
Just don't bother.
You just leveled up your mango.
Oh,
It's amazing.
just
Leveled
he's
up.
gone.
I want to play a mango RPG now, Dave.
A mango RPG?
Yeah, where you level up a mango.
Yeah.
You could like put your points into like tanginess or sweetness
Sounds
or
like cookie
firmness.
firmness.
And you go around asking
No one's
questions.
a firm mango.
You could do like a...
Is that another thing that has to be ripe? Is that watermelon?
No, yeah, I think the firmness wouldn't be like something you'd level up. It would be like a meter. You'd have to like
Okay.
keep it in the green zone.
Right,
Where you
okay.
want to be a bit firm.
Yeah, exactly.
and not too
You could
firm.
do like a mystery thriller that's like, where'd that man go? You're like,
Oh, fuck's sake.
What? Right. Whatever we're doing next, please start it now.
Yeah.
Just whatever is next, just go.
I'm just leaving. I'm leaving the building
oh, that man gone.
forever. Now let's have some questions before Dave does another pun.
Right, okay.
I just realised as well, I've been asked off the cuff question that we'll get to afterwards, but remind me to ask you because I promised that I'd ask you.
Okay,
Fair play.
well, we've got a few questions here from the forums and Twitter, some of them going for a bit of a Halloween theme.
Yeah, we should say actually, if you do want to ask us
Spooky.
questions,
Halloween.
we do our best to read out a bunch of the best ones. However, if you've got questions you want to ask us that are a bit longer, then do go onto the forum.
Yeah.
And we have got a forum thread, which is basically ask us stuff in the podcast. Because sometimes we get people who tweet like 5 or 6 tweets, and it's just like, oh God, I can't read all that stuff out. If you've got something quick and simple, do it on Twitter. But otherwise, if you've genuinely got a question that's a bit more in depth, then the best thing, go on the forum, ask us, and we will answer.
Yeah.
Okay, so first question comes from...
There's a shout out for you. Major Dave.
Right, don't answer too quickly on this one because you might get in trouble. So here we are. If you could punch another member of the Video Gamer staff in the face and were 100% guaranteed not to get caught, would you do it? No need to name names, just a simple yes or no will suffice.
Not get caught. Do you mean no repercussions as well?
Yes.
So the other person's not offended or upset or hurt or anything like that?
I'm going to say they don't even know it was you. They will be hurt because they've been punched in the face, and that's usually
I'd
quite
do
a
it.
painful thing.
I think universally that'd be a yes, Dave.
Probably.
Yeah, I think we'd all
Depends
do
what
that.
mood I'm in.
No,
Well, it depends what mood other people are, I think. Is the
yeah,
other thing
I mean,
as well,
most
though.
days, I think the person, people might kind of, vary from day to day, but most days, definitely, yeah.
I think there's 4 or 5, yeah.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of people I
Smack in the
punch.
face.
But I'm a horrible person, so don't, whatever.
You guys are mean. Moving on to Twitter, I'll go back and forth, keep things mixed up. This more of a Halloween one here from Simon Marshall. Have you ever switched off a game after being too scared?
Yes.
Just immediately switched
Every
off?
game that's supposed to be scary, I usually can't get through. Condemn's the first one that switched to mind. Terrifying.
I don't think I've ever switched the game off just straight away, but I am one of those guys that abuses the pause menu. So, oh no, this is scary. I'll just have a pause, have a little sip of my cup of tea, and then we'll come back
Resident
to it again.
Evil on the GameCube, when the zombie first
think a
looked
lot
at me, I
of
was like, oh no,
games.
I was
Looked at you.
I was like, oh, okay, I'm done. Because
What, you
I've told this
immediately
story
switched off?
I've told this story on the podcast before, I'm sure. It was when Game did their 10-day returns. So I bought Resident Evil on GameCube, thinking, oh yeah, I'm man enough to play through this now, being 15
Right.
years old.
Yep.
And got to the first zombie, turned the GameCube straight off, took the game back to the shop the next day, and said, oh, I've finished it already.
Blitz through that, absolutely.
It's too easy. It's way too easy.
I remember Eternal Darkness really freaked me out.
Yeah, it did.
Like, to the point I had to turn it off. That bit when it flashed to her in the bath, it was full of blood, and then
Oh,
flashed back. I
shit,
had to
man.
work, fuck this game.
That game
really-
was genius. Very few games have done it since. Of like, it kind
No.
of chips away at you. Whereas
Yeah,
like,
exactly, that's exactly right. 100%.
none of it's like that scary on its own. It's just the way it gradually. Amnesia does that as well.
Yeah,
actually.
a
Just
constant
lots
sense of
little
foreboding.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the early parts of Amnesia, before you start literally just getting chased by horrible things,
Yeah.
the build up of the tension. I think A Machine for Pigs, first half of that game, does that really, really well.
Yeah, I think the only one for me that I've ever actually kind of switched off. I'm trying to remember. Actually, I don't think I have done that, but I think I would have done that. I think when we first started, I did a little live stream playing Slender, when I first started working at VideoGamer, and which now, unfortunately, Twitch has deleted because it's gone out of archive rate, so it never exists.
Oh,
Never
goodness
mind.
gracious.
But I think if I wasn't playing that online with people watching me, I would have totally quit the fuck out of
Never
that
going
game.
to play that.
Because I played it and it scared the hell out of me. I was genuinely, I did not like
The,
it. at
the
all.
actual, the full game came out yesterday, and it Slender the Arrival wasn't the kind of one where you went around the forest getting those
Yes,
pages, like the
yeah.
prelude to that kind of.
Yeah, it was like a
I
beta.
just don't like it. I find it interesting from a design perspective. I can see why it's good, why it's clever. And, I remember when I first walked off and thought, well, I don't want to do this, and then walked into a fence. I was like, oh, you bastard. Bloody fence.
What was that Sony game where you could see the person looking at you?
Siren.
Is that
Siren?
Forbidden Siren? Yeah.
Siren.
Impossible to play. Literally impossible
With
to play.
the cop.
Too scary.
The cop
yeah.
trying to find you in that house.
Yeah, too scary.
Yeah,
Too scary.
But then actually, I think I switched off
was meant to
Gregory
review
Horror
that.
Show the first time I bumped into the little girl.
What's Gregory Horror Show? I don't know that.
Gregory Horror Show is amazing. I'm half tempted to just bring it in and play it for a live stream tomorrow afternoon or something, just because it's Halloween, just because it is an amazing game.
I
It's a
don't know
weird game about living in a hotel run by a mouse or a rat. And all of
Ratatouille.
it looks like it's really cartoony. All the characters are like these big square-headed weirdos, right? And you've got like this, like there's a dinosaur, a pink dinosaur nurse running around with a syringe, like
sounds lovely.
saying all this sexualized stuff. And
Oh,
it's just- but it's not explicitly sexualized, but it's just like it's weird.
I'm going to stick this.
And the idea is that
somewhere.
you have to steal the souls of all the hotel residents. But it's like really cartoonish and childish,
Yeah.
and they keep their souls in a jar in their
Yeah.
room. So it's all about deceiving these people. But after you've taken their soul, you then have to avoid them. So it becomes like survival horror in the fact that
Jeez.
after you've taken someone's soul, you then, if you see
It's
them
just
in
a
the
little
corridor,
bit awkward if you pass them in the
you
corridor.
have to run.
Oh God,
You have to run.
It's James.
But most of the
intrigued to see
characters,
that.
some of the characters are really funny and really fun. But the lost doll is just really frightening.
Dolls. All dolls are terrible.
Because it's this little girl who says, "I've lost my dolly," and it's just a cute little girl, and then turns around and goes, "Have you taken my doll? You've taken my doll," because her head revolves like
yeah,
like
I'm
in,
not playing this.
It's like in the what's it called the vomit little girl film.
Exorcist.
The Exorcist.
No,
Little Girl is a much better title for that film.
But it's like the lost girl. The doll is her, like, and she's fucked up. It's
sounds
fucked up.
horrendous.
Really scary.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay, and a nice follow-up to this then, I guess, is what's the scariest game that you've played that isn't scary at all?
Call of Duty 2.
Something that's all sunshine and lollipops.
I got scared playing Call of Duty 2, but then war is scary. But I don't
what
think
did you
Call
get
of Duty.
scared?
It's one level, I can't remember, you're in a village,
Right.
and I was going up a staircase, and an enemy jumped out at me, and I screamed, and I had to turn it off because it gave me the jump.
I am going to use this anecdote from you, probably in a video.
That's fine. It's
So, just
you're
so
allowed.
you know.
I should be ashamed. So,
I don't know if it should have been scary or not, but I remember Final Fantasy VII when you first look into the what was the thing? It's like a kind of, it's not a test lab, but it's got their what was the name of it?
Oh, no,
and you
with
look
Genova.
through and Genova,
Yeah.
and you look through and you see the.
Yeah, that was pretty.
Was
'cause
that meant to be scary?
Well, I think so
it
because
scared the shit
up
out of
until
me.
up until that point, it's like you didn't really know what was going on.
Yeah.
And that when you looked through that little window and saw what was in those machines,
Yeah.
was when you first had an idea of what was happening, and it was quite scary. Yeah. I was terrified by Echo the Dolphin, but I maintain that game.
Oh, yeah.
I'm with you
Echo
on
the
that
Dolphin,
one.
yeah.
What the fuck is that game?
Absolutely
That's the
terrifying.
thing is, you say Echo the Dolphin, terrifying game, and everyone goes, ha, "That's very funny, Matt." And I go, "I'm not joking."
I'm deadly serious.
And then I go, "That game ended with you having to fight an alien that would eat you in its jaws." And then people go, "Ha, that's really funny." And it's like, it's not
Still
funny.
not joking.
It's
Alex
not
Kidd.
a joke.
Alex
Oh,
Kidd
yeah,
in
he's
Miracle
freaked
World.
out.
Oh, yeah,
real,
we-
man.
yeah.
Scariest game ever made. I'm not even joking. Alex Kidd. Oh my Jesus! Can't deal with it.
I didn't know what that was when you
And the rock,
when
paper,
you told me
scissors
about that.
bosses.
I had to find a video clip to go with the
Look on your
little
face is priceless, Dave.
the little questions video you did where you said that was the scariest thing you'd played.
And you go up in the helicopter,
Not
hit
scary.
the balloon, you fall in the water. You're like,
Absolute-
shit, that's a
No.
massive fucking octopus.
It's not
that
scary.
It's not
It
scary.
is.
It's
It
absolutely
really
not.
is. The art, the
It really
art
not.
design, everything about it is horrific.
No.
It's weird, but it's not. Yeah. Although, actually, if you want something that is unexpectedly scary, I still actually almost shit my pants when we were playing the sequel, the Dreams Nights 2 Into Dreams. Do you remember?
Really? That's
On the
scary?
Wii.
Yeah, I remember that. It was
Yeah.
a big deal at the
It was
time.
me and the Midnight Resistance guys, actually, in my
Yeah.
old house in London. And it was Andy and Sean and me. And we played this. And we thought, oh, yeah, Nights. And at the start of the game, you get to choose if you want to be a boy or a girl. And if you play as the girl character, you can
Terrifying
find this on
decision.
YouTube. You can find this on YouTube. I will not tell you what happens, but go and find Nights into Dreams intro girl. Type that
I'm
into
going to do
YouTube.
this. I haven't done this.
And just watch the intro sequence, the CGI, for if you play as a little girl. And All I'm going to say is I don't think they realised how frightening what they've made was, because genuinely it was one of those moments where, especially because we had no idea it was coming, there's just something in the CGI where it just made my stomach almost turn. It was like, fuck.
Jeez.
It really chilled us. We were quite... And it's one of those things where it's definitely not intentional. It's not supposed to be that frightening. Surely.
I'm going to do it after this
But
podcast.
check it out.
Okay, moving on to Ben Barrett asks thoughts on the closing of Victory Games and the death of another Command & Conquer game.
I think he's sad, but I don't think it's that surprising.
No.
Because Command & Conquer...
When was the last time we talked about Command & Conquer on this podcast?
It was of its time,
It
unfortunately.
wasn't very good. I've played it a couple
Oh,
of
that's
times.
the thing.
And it,
Everybody I know who's gone to preview events has come away from it really not knowing what to say, because A, it had the whole free-to-play monetization thing that felt a bit iffy, and B, it just apparently wasn't very good. And I think that they were banking on... I mean, I was saying to you yesterday, Chris, it's like, when they started developing it, the buzz for StarCraft 2 was huge. It really looked like
That's the thing. It's lost, isn't it? It's
gone.
been left in a different era. Well, all these other sort of games of a similar ilk, even though they may not sort of copy them verbatim, it's just
but then
It
far
looked
and
like
beyond.
It looked like StarCraft 2 was going to take over the world.
Yeah.
It looked like StarCraft 2 was going to burst out of Korea and become this worldwide esports phenomenon. And then League of Legends and Dota happened.
Yeah.
And now...
I know, so it puts
yeah, but then even
It's
like
just
in
the fact.
August at Gamescom, like Command and Conquer
they started
formed a
the-
big part of their Gamescom press conference, and so
They
that
started the press
that's why it
conference with
surprises
a really
me that
terrible
Yeah,
stage
remember they
battle between two guys.
lasted forever. And it
But
was rubbish.
eventually,
But-
you got to cut your losses. The amount
I
of
think
money
that's
they must
the
have
thing,
poured
but-
into it.
I think they've poured a lot into money and they've really given it a good crack of trying to buzz up interest. But the problem is with a free-to-play game is free-to-play games, they don't work like number ones in terms of a launch. You start off with a beta,
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
the closed beta gets bigger and bigger, and then until basically, it's like Dota had about 4 million players
It's
before it
just a soft
launched.
launch, isn't
Yeah.
it? They're just-
Soft launching is how it works now, but it means if you can't drum up an interest,
Yeah.
so that if when you launch the beta, you're not going to have like 1 million people want to play it, then you've got to just cut your losses.
And who talks about Command & Conquer anymore? Like, I think it's sad because I don't want anyone
I
to be
loved
closed
Command &
down or anything like
Conquer.
that. Yeah, exactly. Loved.
Talk about the
I loved
cutscenes.
Command & Conquer.
Talk about the cutscenes.
Yeah, they were awesome.
Yeah, the ending cutscene for Red Alert 2, where it's implied that you're going to have a threesome in a helicopter.
Yeah.
So
And they did those
stunning.
amazing adverts with Ric Flair when he fought a bear. Do you remember those?
What?
Have you never seen them?
No.
I'll send you the YouTube clips. They only last 35 seconds each. But each one starts with Ric Flair,
I've got some
professional
great
wrestler.
homework on this now. There's a terrifying intro from...
The best one is he's in a gym working out, talking to himself, saying how great he is. He sees some girl behind the checkout, goes to
Right.
chat her up, and the bear attacks him from behind.
Okay.
It's they're genuinely
that sounds-
hilarious.
Question:
like-
When do they tie that back into playing Command and Conquer?
Is it because there's a bear in Command and Conquer?
Yeah, that's it. He was the rest
That-
my microphone. I'm sorry, I ruined my microphone. It basically was that the bear was Russian, and there's 4 of them. There's 4 of these vignettes, and it just goes that the bear has a vendetta against Ric Flair, and the last one is them having a wrestling
Once
match.
again, when do you start playing Command and Conquer in this?
It was a
advert?
different
Just-
time. It was a different time. Back then, like you could literally, and this is quite sad but true, you could literally have an advert for a video game which would just be a photograph of a woman in a bikini kind of lathering herself up in
Remember
a shower.
I showed you that
and
advert.
then it would say, buy this game.
Yeah.
That advert
And
for
that was
the,
it.
the original Xbox. Remember I showed you that? And it was just a soap bar in a bath with just all these pubes on it in the shape of a
Oh,
moustache.
God, yeah.
And it was just like, play more. That's all it said.
What does
It's
that
like,
even
what?
mean?
Imagine Microsoft doing that advert now.
Jesus.
So yeah.
Strange time.
Yeah.
Time. Let's go for a final question. Hodge asks, I have pre-ordered an Xbox One due to me not getting along with PlayStation 3, but liking the 360. Have I made a huge mistake?
I think you made a huge
No, it's
mistake.
still be a
You're
good
still going to be
console.
good. It's
Yeah.
still going to be great. It's just in comparison, who knows?
Absolutely, you're screwed, Hodge.
On that note,
You're
though,
so in so much trouble.
because they were talking about pre-orders and stuff.
It's all
My
over Hodge.
friend Preston wanted us to quickly talk about the Blockbuster stuff because he's appalled
Oh, yeah.
that the people that pre-ordered next-gen consoles are now screwed and not going to get one because
That is
Blockbuster can't
true.
guarantee pre-orders. And he's right, that is bad because, you'll be excited about it, you put money down. I'm sure they get their money
I will
back.
say
They get their
though,
money back?
I thought Blockbuster closed years ago.
Yeah,
So I mean, I would not pre-order. I would not have pre-ordered anything from Blockbusters because under my impression they went
Why
into
do you even-
liquidation.
Yeah, but maybe you're one of these people that went to Game, couldn't get it. You went to Shop
Yeah.
2, couldn't get it. And then you're like, Blockbuster, you're so happy.
no one's ever,
Good old
no one's ever been that
reliable.
happy to say the word Blockbuster.
True.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's shit. but
It's horrible because people would be so excited, and
but
now
they
they're
are like
screwed.
such a financially unstable company. It's
Well,
like it'd be
they
like
rent
going into
videos,
Woolworths.
Well, I was
now,
going to say
you know.
Woolworths, yeah.
Can I give you £500, Woolworths? Yeah, that's
yeah,
fine.
sure.
I mean, I think it's obviously it's rubbish. It's good that people are getting their money back because obviously
They are right. They definitely get
yeah,
their
they
money back,
definitely.
yeah.
It seems like because I remember there was a lot of kerfuffle with Game when they said Game were closing about people having
The gift card thing.
gift
Yeah.
cards and all that stuff. I mean, that was shit.
That is terrible.
I still
We're
think
not-
Game's time is up. Frankly, I wouldn't put a pre-order in with that company right now. But
Maybe a lot of people are hoping the other way.
I don't know, man. They bring these people in, like, you know, it's like what happened with Blockbusters. They bring somebody in who goes, we'll fix it. Some fat exec gets a nice fat wage for 2 years, and then, oh, well, it didn't work. We had to go, and then he fucks off somewhere else.
The rebranding of HMV's happening though, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's,
precisely.
That's a thing. So
As an online store, probably. It's bollocks. It's just another way for some fat business twats to get more money out of something that fails.
the FBTs.
Who's that guy? Like the guy, I think it's the guy who took over from HMV or something. I can't remember who it was,
I
but
don't know.
one of the guys who took over from this failing company had like just come from like Comet and Dixon's and stuff. And it's like, this is what he does. And you've got people who literally, they just go, you know what, I don't give a piss. People are never going to respect me as a businessman. So they just go and they act as CEO for companies that are dying just to make loads of money out of them.
Comet and Dixon's used to be different companies. Were they
are
were
different companies.
No, but were they under
Currys
the same?
and Dixons are the same.
Wow, what a world we used to live in.
Comet's its own thing.
We had a lot of
Game
washing
Station.
machines.
Game and Game
Yeah,
Station.
there was so many washing
The big
machines.
competitors.
But that was fine. Game and Game
High Street.
Station made sense.
Yeah,
No,
it
but
did.
well, I
To
mean,
my brain.
it was strange.
I remember
Well, no,
I
because
bought-
because you're not old enough to remember this, but I remember when there was a big difference between Game and Game Station, a really big difference.
Yeah. Oh, Game Station was cool.
Yeah, no, so do I.
It was.
Yes, no, but I mean,
Excuse me, I'm only 12.
yeah, fuck you guys.
No, you don't remember.
People
I
held on to
say-
that opinion after they'd merged. That was that was the point I was trying to make.
if I
You
say
all
to you-
men.
Blockbuster owned Game Station for a while, didn't it?
Yeah.
did, so they could learn about it from retail perspective.
Well,
Sorry.
Game used to be Electronics Boutique, which had a partnership with Debenhams.
Yeah,
Full
bought Dreamcast
disclosure,
keyboard, didn't they?
I used to work in Blockbusters as a behind-the-counter dude, and I
Fair
honestly thought they were one of the most poorly, just the shittest companies.
At one point, they were
in the world.
They were massive.
Oh, I know, but that's because of the way that the film industry used to work.
Yeah.
And actually, Blockbusters had a lot to do with fucking it up, right? This is an interesting historical thing. What happened was, right, Blockbusters used to be, you go into Blockbusters and you'd have one of every film. Like, you could get any film you wanted.
Yeah, I remember.
It was like a library.
Yeah.
But then they went, actually, you know what, though? This is a lot of faff. And they started having a better system whereby the big studios, and I didn't learn this from my job, by the way, I learned this elsewhere, but all the big studios would say, hey, how about we just give you money and you promote the films we want you to promote, right? So Blockbusters went, wicked, cool. Instead of having one of every, we'll have like 50 copies.
Yeah, I remember
of
when that
6
happened. Yeah, I
different
remember
films.
it like tripled. Yeah.
And it would just be like, so they were making loads of money from the film distributors because they
Yeah.
were like promoting the films they wanted them to, but also people seemed happy with it. They seemed happy to just go into a Blockbuster on Friday night and say, what's good?
I used to do that.
And they'd
that
have
was me.
the rom-com, the action film,
Yep.
the
That sounds
comedy
like the
film.
game model, to be honest.
Well, that's the problem, and this is why Gamer fucks, right? Because what happened was, after all these years of having this system, the idea was that people don't want a choice, right? The idea was that people are stupid. We tell them what they want. You
No,
come in,
I want
you
choice.
want this rom-com, you want this comedy, you want
I
this
want a
action film.
rom-com.
And that people would be happy just to come in and take whatever was on offer this week. But then Love Film came, right?
That's the internet.
And, you know,
involved
Love
itself.
Film said you can have whatever you want. And suddenly,
subscription.
Blockbuster were fucked.
For the price of what one video will cost you in Blockbuster, you can rent.
And now we've got
dozens.
Netflix. You know, so it's like the whole model was based around the kind of really cynical idea that people don't actually want choice. They want to be told what they want, and that you can control that agenda.
That's how I live my life. I say this all the time. It's not a choice. It's a lack of options.
I just
It
remember.
is,
how I
and
get
that's why
through-
Gamer fucked, is because you've got online, you can just have whatever you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
just
like, you
remember.
know-
Do you remember the adverts? Blockbuster video. Wow, what a difference! I remember that. I miss those
remember that
days.
at all.
Yeah, I remember that.
Good times.
Just quickly, if I say to you, our price, you say
You say what?
our price.
Our price.
See, I knew it. He doesn't remember our price. See, he is young.
Our-
Did that turn
Our
into Virgin, or was
price-
that?
Ah, it was bought out by
Virgin
somebody.
Music.
I don't
What was
know.
the correct response to that?
HMV? They were rivals back in the
Oh,
day.
right.
Yeah.
God damn
I
it.
can't think of
I don't
any
know
other
these
advert
passwords.
slogan, so I'm just going to stop talking about it now.
Bang, and the dirt is gone.
Washing machines live longer with Calgon.
What's happened?
That was amazing.
I don't know, it seems like
I'm
a good
happy
place
now.
to wrap it up.
Yeah, I'm in a good mood.
Well, thank you very much once again for joining us for this particularly strange episode of Video Gamer UK podcast. Hopefully, in the next few weeks, we will actually have more and more games to talk about. And
I will have loads soon.
we'll stop talking
And
about all this
consoles properly.
Oh, look at that resolution.
Finally.
Yeah.
where we can find out all the important stuff, like which console feels nicest against your skin.
Yeah, well, that's a video.
God, that is a video, isn't it?
Yeah.
Shit. I keep saying stupid things and then realising they're actually quite good.
Yeah, done.
Right, okay, thanks. Bye. I'm Matt. We've had Simon, we've had Chris,
Cheers.
we've had Dave.
Thank
We'll see you
you.
next time.
Bye.
Bye.